All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the show MedSpa Evolution. I'm Brian Parnell, CEO of Virtual Pros LLC. We partner with the med spa and wellness industry and help them to become more profitable by using AI and automation solutions. Today, I have my guest, Nick Wingo from Awaken Wellness Awaken Therapy and Wellness, and he is joining us today. And Nick, how you doing today?
Good about yourself, Brian. I appreciate the invite onto the podcast.
Absolutely, we're glad to have you. So why don't we kind of just start with a little bit about your background that you shared with me earlier, and how you transitioned from your background and where you were to starting Awaken Therapy and Wellness, and kind of what led you to that. What was your motivation there?
Yeah, totally. So I was a firefighter for 18 years. I witnessed a lot of death. I lost a lot of coworkers, and I transitioned out of the fire department because it was just not in alignment for me anymore. So I started working with another company and doing mobile IVs and recognized the power in it. And then slowly started working towards having my own business because I saw a massive gap and where the industry is headed as a whole, because in this time right now, it's the greatest time for people to be losing trust in the Western healthcare system. And so there's a transition into healthcare that actually works. And so I witnessed and saw what was unfolding and saw a gap. And I'm just filling in that gap because the regenerative and longevity space is going to be one of the fastest and rapidly growing industries in probably the world right now.
No, absolutely. Especially coming from being a firefighter and seeing that firsthand, that must have been, really inspirational for you to kind of experience that. That's an interesting transition from going to being a firefighter to starting your own business. So, what was that like to kind of transition from that mindset?
I mean, it's been a wild ride. There's been
I
a lot of
bet.
ups and downs, and I had my identity in being a firefighter. And so, like, transitioning out of that, being with the fire department and into being an entrepreneur, a business owner, has presented its own challenges. It's been amazing. It's been scary. It's been exciting. It's been so many things that I never knew that it could have been. And leaving the fire department like I did was not an easy way to leave the fire department. I left on a post traumatic stress claim, and that put me on disability the for long term disability because I got to the point where I just couldn't do the job mentally anymore. So it's really
Sure.
been quite the journey.
Yeah, yeah, I bet. That must have been. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen a lot of things in your past too. So, you mentioned being in that early startup grind. What's been the hardest and most rewarding for you? Kind of the part of building this from the ground up.
I mean, that's a that's a great question. Um, the hardest part of it is um, just really embracing what it's like to start a business. I had no idea what it meant to start a business. I had no idea the amount of things that I was going to get to learn about and understand. Like, as a stepping into this space, you get to learn how to be a marketer, and the delivery portion of it, and you get to learn how to manage people, and you get to learn about all of the places where you're getting your own way. So it's been an incredible journey, and I've learned a ton, and I continue to learn. I wouldn't change it for the world, because for me, leaving the fire department, staying, just as um, on a disability and not doing something with myself was not an option for myself. Because for me, in my experience, part of my post traumatic stress is when I do nothing, I get into a downward spiral. And so having something to focus my attention on really helps me with my post traumatic stress because it leaves me somewhere to transmute my energy. And
Sure.
I still have a lot of years left. I'm just not going to sit back and do nothing.
No, absolutely. And the fact that you did this from the ground up, from the start, all those things you just mentioned, I can relate because I've started 2 companies now from scratch. So I know what you're talking about. And it's not easy. It is a grind. It can be, but it's also extremely rewarding because to the points you were talking about, having to learn how to manage people, doing marketing, you're kind of the CEO. I like to call it the chief everything officer, right? So you're kind of wearing all those hats. So that's an amazing experience. So if we can kind of just talk about what's the why that really drives you. I know you're really driven after post-traumatic stress disorder to be able to help others, but kind of deep dive into really what drives you every day with this type of, getting up every day, doing this business, and then doing what you're doing. What drives you? What is your why?
Yeah, totally. So for me, leaving the fire department, I went on an incredible journey of self-discovery and inward reflection. I traveled the world and became a breathwork instructor. I went through psychedelic treatments. I went through ketamine treatments. I went through 35 days of inpatient treatment. So I spent a lot of time really discovering self through all of this. And in that, I had an experience where the Christ came to me in one of my experiences and told me that my purpose was to help people remember who they are. And so I've really leaned into that since then. Is that I am literally here to help people remember who they are because we have forgotten. And if you're paying attention, that's what's going on in the world right now. We're clearly in a transition into a new way of doing things. And so my way of helping people remember who they are is by helping them to feel better. Because if you feel better, then you can really start to lean into who you actually are. Because what's happened is we've been poisoned so much through the food and the water and the frequencies from the Wi-Fi and the
Hmm.
air that we have been poisoned, and that's just the
Yeah.
truth. And if you're not aware of it, it's time to just kind of look at it. And so if I can help you identify those things and help you feel better, then I can actually help you see the power that you have within you.
Yeah, great points. And also, do you think that that affects the mindset as well, not just the physical, but the mindset of how people transition through this mindset of this type of health awareness? Can you talk about that a little bit?
I mean, it's the most important part. It's the part that we've forgotten about the most. I mean, this is why every study has the placebo in it. You have to do blind studies because if the individuals have even a thought that something that could work for them, it widely changes the way that the study goes. So, like, if you're aware of that, then you can see, well, man, really, what's going on is what my thoughts and what I speak is what I create and what I experience. So if you don't get your mind right, I can help you feel better, but at the end of the day, if you don't shift the way you're thinking, if you don't shift the way you're responding, then you're going to end up right back in the same loop.
Yeah, what they say that where the mind goes, the energy flows, right?
Yep,
So
totally.
it's
That's it.
yeah, it's very very much go hand in hand. Tell me about as you were building this business, what is maybe a low moment that you struggle with that you really learned from that helped you to grow?
Um just believing that everything is okay. Because in business, there's times where the bank account may not reflect that. And so, I've talked to so many entrepreneurs that go through this part. This is why 97% of businesses fail because the bank account doesn't reflect the work that's being done. And so this is the reminder that you're just 3 feet from the gold. So the ones that succeed are the ones that have the grit, the ability, and the resilience to go through that part. Because every business goes through it, and your business is going to have seasons where it'll experience more of that. So it's about learning how to have the capacity to when these things come, that it's rather than you know just losing it completely, you're able to hold in a grounded state of like, hey, this is okay. And this is just part of how these things unfold.
Kind of just accepting things for as they are, and then moving past it and learning from those. Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody makes mistakes, but they say that most people the most successful people learn from the most mistakes that they've made or fail the most. They're the most successful people. Do you think that's pretty accurate?
Totally. Yeah. And with that, I think it's learning how to respond rather than react. And that responding is much different than reacting, because reacting is from a contractive state, whereas responding is gaining the information, recognizing that it's what's happening, and then making a plan around, okay, this is what's happening, it's okay, and this is what we're going to do next, because I made the choice to do this, and this is where it led me to. And so now I just get to pivot and maneuver. And that's what it is, just continual. I mean, it's like the airplane. The airplane has to have micro adjustments the entire flight, right? If it doesn't have those, it will be completely off course. This is the same way your business works. If you're not
Mm-hmm.
doing those micro adjustments all the time, you're going to end up somewhere that you didn't mean to end up. And so you just get to continually have micro adjustments.
That's a great analogy, Nick, for sure. Great analogy. So, for listeners who might not be familiar, describe what regenerative medicine is and IV therapy really are, how Awaken IV stands out from others in your space.
Yeah, totally. So, regenerative medicine and longevity medicine is going to be one of the most rapidly growing industries in the world right now, because the healthcare system has been a sick care system, and regenerative medicine and longevity is a healthcare system. So, this is helping you get down to the root of what's actually going on. So, no more surgeries, no more, of these medications that have all these different side effects. What we do is target what's actually going on with you and help you to correct those things so that you can live a healthier life. We use peptides and IV ozone and regenerative products like exosomes and stem cells. That, I just read something that showed that the safest industry right now is actually, when it comes to medical care, is actually regenerative care, because the rate of incidence is so low, um, like way lower than any Western medicine has ever been able to accomplish. And we have so much scrutiny because we can't make any claims. We can't,
Right.
it as medical advice or any of that. And so we just say, hey, here's what we have. Try it out for yourself. It could help with these things, but we don't really know. And then amazingly, these things are happening, and things are being cured, that Western medicine has not really been able to cure. So there are ways to cure whatever you have going on. I'm not telling you that I can do it. I'm just saying that if you have something going on, for example, maybe like cancer, which I won't speak on how you could maybe help with that, but I'm just here to say that there might be something out there that could help you that's outside the Western medicine system.
Yeah, I agree. And you mentioned sick care. It seems that this country is all about sick care, which is more reactionary, right? Care system, and treating it with a kind of a band-aid, treating symptoms as opposed to being proactive, right? But this kind of ties into all, pharmaceutical industry, doctors, insurance. They're kind of all tied together, which I'm really glad to hear you talk about this, because so many people have been really in the dark with this, and now it's starting to come to light. And look, what you're doing here is very proactive and treating, preventative, right? Preventative type, treatments, which is what you're doing here. And I'm really glad to see the people like yourself are going in this direction. I think more people need to open their eyes to the sick care system. I think it's being talked about more and more often right now, which is really important. So, yeah, good for you. This is really great. So tell me what is about, like, with your competitors in the space, how do you really stand apart with what you're doing? I know I could tell that you're really passionate about what you're doing to be able to help others. How about the rest of the space? How do you stand out? Kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, totally. So I mean, quite honestly, I don't take the competitor stance. For me, it's not about competition, because the more the education there is out there for this, then the more people we can help. And so my competitors are my allies. While my competitors often do not see me as that, I'm okay with that because I recognize and notice the more people that are out there doing that, doing what we're doing, the more people we can help. Now, for us, we're really niching into some things that not other people are doing. For example, there is a lot of people doing IV ozone, but in my professional opinion, auto hemotherapy is not the correct method to do IV ozone. We do ozonated saline. I think it's safer. I think it's just as effective, and I don't have to work with blood thinners, heparin. Now, that's just one simple thing that we do. We have created some really powerful protocols based off from anecdotal results that we've seen with our clients. That often what happens was somebody comes in to get an IV with us. They're like, holy cow, I've got an IV several times and never had an IV that helped me to feel this way. So we're just really pushing against even what the industry standards are. You know, another example, high dose vitamin C. It's really crucial that you understand how high dose vitamin C should be administered. Most clinics are not administering high dose vitamin C the right way. I won't get into the details of that, but there's things that you should be asking, like, is it preservative free vitamins that are being used? Are blood sugars being checked before and after? So anecdotally, we know if you have had the right dose of high dose vitamin C. There's a lot more little minute details that a lot of clinics are missing, and this is not to be rude or mean or push against what other clinics are doing. This is just for me to bring awareness to it and say, hey, there are a lot of clinics out there. While they're doing a good service, they're like an IV bar where it's like a
Mm,
menu where you come in and you're like, oh, I want to get this. That's not what we do. Like that's not medical care. That again is like for hangovers and
right.
a cold or flu. And while yes, there is space for that, we're shifting into a new way of doing things. And eventually what will happen is those things will fall off. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I will do a hangover treatment for you, but I'm gonna tell you, like, your $250 would have been much better spent if you just would have took some electrolytes the day before you drank and took electrolytes in the morning, and then you wouldn't have felt like crap. That's just the truth. And
Right.
I don't need you to pay me $250 for an IV while I'll do it because you just didn't really prepare yourself to drink or just don't drink. That's just my stance.
Yeah, that's a simple solution, right? But so you're more of a kind of an almost like an arbitrage. You analyze somebody's situation and then you direct them to the proper treatment plan based off of what their needs are, as opposed to them coming to you and just ordering off a menu. Am I hearing that correctly?
That's right. And we're going to have to shift away from that if we ever want to have really a transition into healthcare with this. We cannot be like a menu thing. It
Yep.
it really it cheapens what we do because it's yes, when you're feeling like crap, yes, come get an IV ozone with vitamins and I can help you to wipe your cold or flu out like that. There is space for that. I can think this is a great way to use what we do. Um, but that's me evaluating what you have it going on and based off your symptoms, going, I think this is what you need. This is what's going to help you feel the best. And this is why. Rather than you telling me, hey, um, I want this treatment. That's not how healthcare should be done.
Right. Right. So what is your intake like? If I'm a client, I'm coming to you and I'm having whatever the issue is, what is your process like to be able to take somebody through your system?
Yeah, so you're gonna, fill out your general information. You're gonna sign waivers, and then you're gonna get an intake form, and that's gonna ask you a lot of questions of like what's currently going on, what other areas you have problems in your life, what are the things that you are experiencing the most problems, what are your symptoms, and then how do you feel like we can help you? Like, what is the one thing that's really holding you back and causing you pain? And then based off from that, for example, often what we find is somebody may have autoimmune or they may have Lyme or they may have had mold exposure that they're completely unaware of. And so if we can, like, for example, mold exposure, this is a really common one that a lot of people don't realize that they have. Like if you are having allergy symptoms that you just cannot figure out why you have allergy symptoms all the time, if you're continually sick, if you continually have something going on, if you continually have brain fog or afternoon fatigue, there's something else going on. You're not just having a cold or flu. If it's consistent, like let's figure out what might be going on and how can we get to the root of that. So, because we don't want to just band-aid you, because again, that goes back to the old way of doing things. I can band-aid you and help you feel better momentarily, but long term, if you want to get better, then like let's look at what that would really look like
The
and
root
how we can
cause.
help you to really feel better rather than just temporarily feel better.
Yeah, yeah, to kind of treating the root cause of it in the first place. Yeah, that makes a lot of
Totally.
sense. You told me that your clientele are upscale type, athletes, entrepreneurs, and other professionals. What is the reason that you kind of lean that way with your customers or your clients in that in that space?
Because they value their health and they know that if they're showing up, if they're feeling their best, then they can show up their best. So they're looking for like that. Let's be honest, the athlete, the entrepreneur who's the high level acting entrepreneur, they know that 1% difference could be the change that they were looking for, because they're consistently doing lots of things and they're looking for the edge that can help them to really operate at their absolute optimal. If you look at the greatest athletes of all time, that's what they're constantly looking at, because when you're operating at that level, it's just that one little extra thing that's going to take you over the edge and help you be just an animal of who you
Yeah,
are and really step into that highest version of yourself.
that's great. It makes a lot of sense to kind of optimize their performance levels in a big way. So when your clients come to you, what's like the biggest transformational key thing that they're hoping for when they come to see you?
Fixing their brain fog or their afternoon fatigue. Most entrepreneurs, most athletes are experiencing afternoon fatigue. They're experiencing brain fog. They're noticing that they're not able to operate at their best. They're using a shit ton of caffeine to get through the day. Maybe they don't feel like working out. Well, maybe your hormones are not optimized. Their joints are hurting. Well, how can we help your joints? They're experiencing consistent inflammation problems. Well, how can we help the inflammation in your body? So it's getting down to the root of those things.
Right, right. I experience a lot of inflammation in my joints too. Just curious, how do you address joint inflammation? It's chronic like that.
Yeah, totally. So we use Shockwave to start with, and then from Shockwave we look at ultrasound guided joint injections, either PRP or exosomes. Those can be game changers, and then we combine that with doing IV ozone, because systemically IV ozone will help reduce inflammation in the body. And we look at IV exosomes as well, because those IV exosomes, they are like the little delivery trucks that have cytokines, proteins, and growth factors. So when they get delivered into the body's own endogenous stem cells are like, hey, we're having problems in these areas, and this is where we need help. And so when they have these like little rampant, ready to go growth factors, cytokines, and proteins, then they can go and begin to help the body do what the body's meant to do.
Interesting. How long does that take? Like, what's the typical duration of a treatment in that nature?
Well, you generally, it's a series of treatments, and in the series of treatments, we start to see people really shift in about 6 months. So these things take time. Your body's been getting disease from many, many things over many, many years. So that's another reason that we target entrepreneurs and athletes, because they understand that we're not giving just a quick fix. This is something that you really have to dedicate to, because it's not going to happen in just one treatment. It's a series of treatments
Sure.
over time that you're going to start to feel better.
And then after that, let's say 6 month treatment with that, is it something they can kind of pause for a while and then they don't need to do it again for how long?
Well, they could, as long as they change every other area of their life and
Right, right.
correct the four things that we see as the toxins: the food, the water, the frequencies from the Wi-Fi, 5G, and the air. So if you're consistently taking care of those four things, the body can heal itself. If you're not, you're gonna come back and see me again in 6 months. So that's just the truth. So the reality and what happens generally is people start to feel better. I have one or two things, they fall off, And then 6 months later, they're back in my office because they know that it works, or they shift to more of a maintenance where they start to really create lifestyle changes, and they do these treatments less frequently to maintain the progress that we've gained.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. So they're actually, you're actually not only treating them with these things, but you're also guiding them on their diet, the type of air quality they might have, and these other natural factors they might be experiencing to be able to prevent those things from happening in the first place. That is that part of your
Yeah,
plan then to be able
it's
to
it's
advise them on that?
it's vital. It's so important, and this
Yeah.
is the other part that most people are missing, is that most people are not talking about these things, because um, they're just not. They're just, unfortunately, there are a lot of good out there, and there are some people who are still treating this as though it's just a business, a way to make money. I'm hopeful those will fall off eventually, because like this is the things we need to talk about. If we're not talking about these things, I'm doing you a disservice. Most people are so unaware of what's really going on and how we're being poisoned. It really disgusts me, and I'm
Yeah.
super polarizing. And I will let you know what the truth is. And sometimes the truth hurts, but the truth is wake up, look at what's going on around you. Have you evaluated your water? Do you know what water you're drinking? Do you understand the importance of water? Do you understand what it looks like to have actual good clean water? Like most people have no idea. They have no
Hmm.
clue. And that's
Right.
just something that if I didn't educate you on that, like again, this goes back to my clientele. My clientele, they want to be educated on what's actually going on. And often what happens is a lot of people they just don't want to know, because ignorance is bliss. But if you're ignorant to what's going on, you're going to keep on experiencing the negative effects of what you're having. So again, it goes back to, I'm doing you a disservice if I'm not honest and truthful with you and say, hey, I can do this for you and help you. And if you don't change these things, nothing's going to change in your life.
No, absolutely. How long does your average client stay with you with your services? And then have you
Um,
seen the transformation that they've gone through? Can you kind of talk a little bit about, your average client, how long they stay, what the average treatment plan is to be able to get
yeah,
this type of
I
shift?
mean, um, to be honest with you, my business has been built off just from referrals. So honestly, like my clients are lifelong clients. Like
Excellent.
generally when I see clients, they become lifelong clients. Now they may fall off momentarily from time to time, but then they recognize again that they need to see me because they know that I can help. So they reach back out. So they might fall off for a couple months, but yeah, the ones that really want life change. Now, you're always going to have clients that fall off and they don't
Sure.
stick with it, because they're not motivated enough or whatever that may look like, or life happens, and they get caught in other things. But generally, my lifetime value is pretty high.
Very good. Very good. And so you mentioned referrals. That's how you built your business. Maybe talk a little bit about the process in which you acquire your clients, how you keep them. Maybe how big is your company, and how many people do you serve right now?
Yeah, we're real small right now. So we have a client list of 800, and my team is a team of four. So we're a small working thing, and we're a force. I was just on a podcast the other day, and somebody mentioned that somebody from, like, I don't know where it was, California, knew about our business.
Wow.
So we're a very impactful in what we do, because of how we show up and how we do things. We are much different than most.
And you said so 4 people for 800 clients. You guys
Mhm.
must be working your butts off for these people.
Uh, you know, I mean, we're still have so much room for growth. A lot
Yeah.
of our stuff is high ticket sales, so we have a massive room for growth still. I have many days where we don't have anybody in the clinic still. but that's just part of growing a business. And so we're just
Sure.
learning how to, and also doing referrals comes to a certain point, and now we've hit that time in our business where we're shifting into some more ads and some more things to get people coming in the door other ways, because referrals can get you to a certain point, and then scale comes from some of these other
Right.
methods.
Or proactive marketing efforts. So
Yeah.
that's actually a good transition. So many service providers focus really heavily on lead generation, but retention and conversion are often the biggest, where the biggest revenue leaks are. What's been your experience with that balance so far?
Yeah, I think going back to your current client list is always going to be where the most revenue sits. Because, like, for example, bringing in a new service, maybe you brought in a new service, but you didn't let your audience know. So if you didn't let your audience know and you start chasing other people, then you're leaving revenue on the table for the people that are already in your ecosystem that you don't have to pay for.
Right. I mean, going back to your current clients, those are great. Obviously, that's where your steady revenue is. And if they can give you a referral too, that's even better. But going back to your point about being proactive, because you get to a point where it's kind of like a wall. Like, okay, how do we scale, right?
Mhm.
And to your point, you've got to be doing ads. You've got to do SEO and other types of things to get leads in the funnel so that you can scale. So what does your current process look like now when you receive a new inquiry, you receive a new lead from an ad? Kind of, can you help me understand how you walk that client through that process that you currently have?
Yeah, I mean, we're still dialing that in because it's still fairly new to us. But for us,
Sure.
it's lead comes in, we follow up within 5 minutes. We have a set text message that goes through. We have a set email sequence that goes through, and then we have a follow up system with phone calls to get those, and then we funnel them into a call where we can get down to the root of what they have going on, and then get them scheduled into clinic. We take a deposit and get them scheduled in a clinic and really help them get what they're looking for.
Right. Okay. So you and I talked offline about this before about having the human touch element that's very important. But how do you see technology supporting that and be able to optimize what you're currently doing?
Yeah, so with the tech for us, what we do is have all of our back end systems is where the AI. So those initial follow ups, those initial email sequences, those things are amazing to have to take away some repetitive tasks and keep you on hand. When it comes to client facing, there is nothing that's going to replace a human to human connection. And so anytime that you're on the phone with us, any of that type of stuff, you're always going to get a human to human connection, because the human to human connection is the empathy, the understanding, the really getting down to what's going on and how we can genuinely help you. And AI just can't do that. Maybe some point in the future. I mean, AI is rapidly increasing in its capabilities, but right now that's just not the case.
Yeah, I agree with you with that. I think AI is fantastic for a supporting role, but it's never going to replace a live human being, right? Especially when you have this type of consulting and to be able to build up that human touch, that rapport. That's I don't think that's ever going to be 100% replaced by AI, but certainly the technology can be used to support that, in a blended way where it takes a lot of those repetitive tasks that a human, can't do as efficiently. And that's something we talked about before. How are you currently using AI now to in your process?
Not to get too deep, because some of the stuff we're doing is like some pretty amazing stuff, but just a lot of documentation, a lot of helping to expand understanding of things, a lot of help of understanding um, marketing better, really looking at the patterns within the business, looking at numbers and seeing where there's room for improvement, taking some of that stuff that as an entrepreneur sometimes you have no idea what to do next or where to go. Utilizing those tools can be really powerful, and helping you to stay on task, helping you to plan, helping to give you more ideas of directions to go in. Because there's never been a time where, like there is right now, where we can literally go in and have access to all of the knowledge like that. And so the AI can give so many data points that we just can't. We're unaware of what we're unaware of. And the AI can help you to see the things and expose you to blind spots that you didn't know you had.
Do you use AI right now as a way to kind of diagnose somebody's symptoms, to use it as a more of a treatment philosophy?
We are building some stuff for help with that. And the
Okay,
reason
cool.
being is because, for example, there was I saw a thing where they looked at CT scans that were evaluated by doctors, and they found that there was like an 80% accuracy with humans with diagnosis. And the AI, once it's been programmed with so many data points, it's able to diagnose with a 99% accuracy.
Wow,
Like,
that's
so
insane.
yeah, if you're not utilizing these tools, you're really doing yourself a disservice. Now, as we're doing this, we're going to allow for people to opt out of AI helping in their care. But I really think as someone who wants to get better, if you're opting out of the AI to help in your care, you're going to be at a disadvantage, because there's just little. Often it's just a little minute thing where a practitioner can go over it and go over it and over it, and it's like, Whereas the AI can look at it and look at patterns and say, hey, have you thought about this?
Yeah,
Now we're always going to have the human practitioner to make the final call on these things, and go, oh, that is something that we should definitely look deeper into. But this is where we're headed. This is the future. This is the future of healthcare. It's
yeah.
what it is.
I agree with you. I think we're here now. It's just going to continue to evolve. And to your point, I think if people aren't implementing these technologies, they're really going to be left behind where that's concerned, to be able to optimize everything. So, where do you see yourself or your company, let's say 3 to 5 years from now? What are your long-term goals based on where you're trying to get to?
Yeah, we'll be one of the most well-known regenerative longevity clinics in the U.S. I just have a knowing. I can't unsee what I've seen, and I see gaps in the industry because I've been around for so long. So I really genuinely feel like I have something that and knowledge that most people just are completely unaware of. And the other thing about this industry is that most doctors that are running these practices are not entrepreneurs. And so they
Hmm.
get in their own way, and they're afraid of AI, and they're afraid of change. Um, and so if you're afraid of change and you're afraid of those things, then you're going to keep your practice stuck kind of where it is. Um, so I, as a practitioner, as a medic, a street medic, I have an advantage of, like, I'm a deep level entrepreneur, and I can see both the medical side of things, and I can see the technology side of things and all the stuff to help to gather it together.
Yeah, you've got a distinct advantage knowing those two. So I think to your point, a lot of the doctors, they're very good at one thing, but they don't have that other piece that they need to really scale their businesses. So you're in a unique position, Nick, to be able to be very successful with it. Do you have one location right now, or do you have multiple locations?
Yep, just one location right now.
And where's your location right now?
We're in Boulder, Colorado.
I love Colorado. I was
Yeah,
out. I'm a big outdoors guy. I was out there with my son a couple of years ago. So that's a great place. And I think
yeah,
that's probably a really good area too to expand into.
it
It seems
is, and
like
there's a lot of clinics in our area too. So there's a lot of, so the visibility thing is a challenge. There is, getting visible on Google and Google Business Profile. Those are things that I've heard from a lot of people in Colorado is one of the most challenging places to make it happen. So I'm getting really creative. I'm getting real technical and that's actually one thing I've been utilizing AI for, is getting really, really technical on our local SEO.
mhm.
We're doing stuff that most people are just not even aware that's options to do with your stuff.
Good. Yeah, good for you. But that's also an opportunity too, because it's the awareness is so good there that you have the opportunity to really kind of rise above. So there's already a big awareness anyway. So to be able to your point, kind of tweak and optimize your SEO and everything that you're doing to stand out, I think gives you some leverage that you're going to have in your region there.
Totally.
So
And that when you're in an area where it's more difficult, then when you go into an area where it's not like that, then you can
it's a lot
just
easier
dominate like
to
that.
dominate. Yeah, yeah, for sure. So if you wanted to expand, would you expand outside of Colorado, or do you have any other areas that you would go into?
I mean, right now, our first expansion that we have on the vision board will be into Lohi in Denver. And then from there, it would start to expand nationally. Um, that's the plan. That's the goal is to shift into, some of these states that are really stem cell friendly. Florida just passed laws. Um, you know, um, Nevada is still a great place that laws are being loosened up. I'm sure Colorado will follow because generally that's what happens. But I'm going to be looking at the states that there's a lot easier to get into with these treatments without as much scrutiny.
Yeah, I know Florida's huge for that. I've interviewed some owners in Florida. That's a really another big awareness type of region. Tell me, where do you see the biggest growth opportunities in regenerative medicine? Over the longevity over the next few years, where do you see that headed?
Just education. People need to be educated on
Mhm.
what this stuff is. Like there are still it blows my mind. I'm in this space, so it's my world. But it's so interesting to me the amount of people that I meet that are just completely unaware that this is even an option still. And they like almost shut down, like, no, don't want that.
Yeah,
So there's a real gap of educating people on what's available to them now because they've been so programmed to believe that Western medicine is the only thing that can help them. And that's just not the truth. And it's really not helping you. That's just
so,
honest truth.
so how do you open their eyes? Like, what's the best mechanism then to be able to open people's eyes to this and educate them? Because obviously education is needed, but how do you get them to see this, and how do you open their eyes to it?
Well, the conversation is how has the healthcare system been helping you?
Right.
Have you gotten the results that you've been looking for? Do you feel like your doctor is on your side? Do you feel like you have a team behind you? Or are you often just given I don't really know or a generalized approach, or are you prescribed antibiotics that will kill your gut health because the doctor kind of just caught you in a catch-all and wasn't sure what to diagnose you with, but said, well, I think this will work. I mean, that's the conversation. Is what
Right.
you're
Right.
working? And okay, it's not working. Are you open to trying something that could actually help you? That's what sparks the interest. Like, all I need to do is point out what's obvious.
Hmm.
I mean,
Even though
look at
people have been indoctrinated to to think, believing that Western medicine is going to fix you, even though it's really a lie, right? And
Jen.
you got to change their mindset, like you said. Um, but I like your angle of going in. What have they done to actually help you? And if you can answer that question with, well, not much, well, then look at the opportunity that you have, right, with what you're talking about here. So, yeah, education
and
makes a lot of sense.
and generally, like, the first part of the conversation I have with people is, "Well, then why did you come to me? You
Yeah,
came to me because you couldn't find the answers you were looking for," is what I assume. Am I right? Generally, that's a yes. Okay, what have you done? This or this and this. Has that helped you in any way? Well, it might have given me this, but then it gave me this, and so I have this other thing going on now. Hmm. Are you curious about why that might be happening? And do you want to change that?
yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. So, Nick, I know we're getting into the 45-minute mark here. What I would say is it's very interesting what you're doing here. It's obvious that you're very passionate and that you can wake up every day knowing that you're helping people. that's got to be a fantastic feeling on your part. So congratulations. And I think you're going to do really well. You obviously are already doing well. Is there anything else before we wrap up this podcast that you could share maybe with the industry as a whole, maybe some insights or advice that you would give for other people in the space?
Yeah, totally. Remember who you are and why you're doing what you're doing. Like often we get off track on why we're doing what we're doing, and we get caught in the weeds of making it about the money or making it about success or making it about us. Maybe the best thing to do is just to get out of your own way and just trust that everything's unfolding in the best way and be okay with whatever happens. And just wake up showing up your best every day. And if you just do that, then you're doing what you're meant to be doing. That's it. Stop trying to sell things, stop trying to push, just be who you are. Because when you're just
Sure.
being who you are, you attract the right people and the right people will come.
That's great advice. Well said. Very well said. How can people find you, Nick? How can people find you? Do you have a website? Do you want to plug anything that where people can contact you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the easiest way is just to go to awakeniv.com. You can find all of our social channels. Even if you're not in Colorado, like please do follow us because we're really starting to work on educational content and getting myself out there on more podcasts. I'm getting out there more because I truly believe what I have is I can help to educate other clinics too, other clinicians. Because if I can help other clinicians and help people, that's my heart. I just want to help as many people as I can by educating and being available.
Excellent. Very good. Nick, it's absolute pleasure speaking with you, and I appreciate all your insights, our audience here, and wish you nothing but the best with your journey, with your business, and you're a very authentic guy. So I appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. I really appreciate it. I love doing this stuff. It's really my true passion is to have these type of conversations. So I genuinely appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah, keep going with it, going in the right direction. Yeah. All right, Nick, thank you so much. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye bye.